Another fascinating cultural institution to look at as a means to examine how they incorporate social media is the large-scale broadcast media organisation. Historically, public service media organisations have been innovative in how they integrate new technologies into their production and publication processes. And so for this module, we focus on the work of the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, or the ABC as it is known. Specifically, we'll explore how public service media is integrating social media into its production practices. I spoke with Rod McGuinness, who's one of the ABC's senior social media strategists, to understand how the organisation integrates social media and indeed how they leverage content production off the interaction of the audience across social media.
Well, social media for the ABC has really been about ensuring that as the audience and as the Australian people use social media more and more, that we are there as well. The Australian Broadcasting Corporation is the public broadcaster for Australia. It's government fully funded by the government. We don't receive any donations, we don't do sponsorships or anything like that, and we do not do any advertising at all, which is part of our charter. So it employs, I think, about 4,500 Australians across Australia, and we have international staff as well. But it's a big organisation, and our presence is on TV, radio, and online. We've seen an enormous popularity, and it just keeps increasing in terms of the amount of time people spend on social media. And that's a challenge for the ABC. So, because it means they may not be watching us on TV or listening to us on air. And so social media is a great opportunity, but also that challenge. And so at the core of what the ABC does in terms of social media is meeting our audience there on social media, making them care, or hoping that they care about ABC content and ABC stories and what we're talking about. We use social media as a way of not just engaging with the audience, but bringing the audience in to be part of the story or to be part of it. And we think with that agency, if you like, or with that sense of participation and involvement, it's much more powerful. So for radio, where I work, the biggest event each year is Hottest 100, and that's by a youth network, Triple J, where they do an annual countdown of the top 100 songs, and it's voted by listeners. Anyone in the world can vote on this. And so it's an annual event. It takes place on Australia Day, our national day, and for about 6.5, 7 hours, the broadcast goes on and people engage through our websites and apps, but primarily through our social platforms. A lot of the time when we're working on that day is spent looking at Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, because people are posting from all around the world saying, this is where I am listening to this. And it's a massive communal event. It really is, and a global event. But the volume of participation and so forth is so much greater than anything that we could have sustainably done. The social media and those platforms provide tools that we wouldn't necessarily have or be able to use or to be able to develop. And so there's that fantastic opportunity to be able to use these tools in a way where we know that audiences are, and using those tools themselves, but as part of the ABC, if you like, products or ABC sort of presence. It means that we can leverage our brand, if you like, and leverage our stories and stuff on those spaces and maximise the use of those spaces, and the flexibility that comes with that. You can sign up to most social accounts for free. I think there's a lot of push and pull in terms of the ABC from a policy perspective and a strategy perspective, looking at to say, well, how can we use these platforms? How can we be on social media and yet still be able to clearly identify as being the ABC? And sometimes it works really well, and other times it doesn't. To be frank, there's oftentimes I think where we lose control, or we lose that sense of ownership about our stories or being able to do the things we want to do because it's not on our platforms. It's on another social media platform. In addition to the fact that the majority of social platforms have advertising, and there's that cost imperative that comes, and where of course the ABC doesn't have advertising. It doesn't charge people, and that we don't push products like that. in terms of social media, the first thing to always do is target who the audience is, or the potential audience. And then from there you work back and think, well, what social platforms are they using or not using? So what do you use and what do you avoid? And then also think about how you're going to present this. What is going to be a hook, or what's a way that's going to get them engaged? And so a lot of the advice I give for people developing social media strategies for these things is to really be consistent in what they're trying to do, and think about how they're going to communicate that on social media, and over-communicate it. You need to over-communicate. You need to keep a consistent reminder of what you're doing, whether it's, this, we want you to subscribe, or this is what this is about, or this is, an update. And it is a challenge. And I think every social platform is different in the way that it works, and there's opportunities with some platforms that there aren't with others. I suppose a large part of my job is, as those platforms change in what they can do or what they don't do, and so that, it's a constantly moving endeavour.
What's interesting to note from Rod's insight is the way in which organisations are integrating external third-party platforms into their own practices. Relying on the affordances of a third-party provider enables you to interact with a potentially large audience base, yet results in your organisation being at the mercy of these large digital intermediaries. For the most part, this is a fairly straightforward process. However, and as Rod points out, it's very much the role of the social media strategist to align the affordances and inhibitions of third-party platform providers with that of the organisation, regardless of its orientation.